Hello and welcome back to the course on blockchain. And today we're talking about hardware. We're going to dive into the world of different types of mining hardware that miners use to solve the cryptographic hash puzzle. And specifically, we'll talk about CPUs, GPUs, and ASICs. All right, let's get started. So, CPU, we've probably all heard the term, central processing unit. That's the main microchip inside our laptops or computers. That's where everything goes through, all the commands go through, and that's where they get executed. It's like the center of operations for our computer. And as you can imagine, as the center of operations, it has to be very versatile because it has to take charge of lots of different things. And therefore, it's very general in its nature. It's very powerful. It can do very sophisticated things. But at the same time, it's general. So, meaning it's not specialized to one specific thing. And therefore, it can definitely solve the SHA-256 hash. It can calculate it. It can calculate it compared to a human very fast, but it is limited at about 10 mega hashes per second. So 10 million hashes per second, which in human terms, it sounds like a lot. But in terms of the overall hash rate of the Bitcoin network, just taking just the Bitcoin network, for instance, that is not that much because the hash rate there is like 22 million trillion hashes per second. So then we move on to more specialized components, so into the world of more specialized devices, and the first one is a GPU, the graphics processing unit. That's basically the unit that is the video card in our, the graphics card in our laptops or computers. And why is it specialized? Well, let's first put this here. It is specialized. And why is it specialized? Because it is designed to work with graphics, and the operations that it is specialized for are matrix operations. So matrix operations are required in order for videos to work, for graphics to appear on our screens, and so on. And that is what the GPU is specifically tailored for, to solve matrix operations, matrix multiplications, and other matrix operations. And that specialization is already a benefit for the hash calculation as well. So with that specialization, the GPU is able to solve to calculate the hashes faster, because in the way to think about it is, compared to the CPU, it doesn't have lots of other components or functionalities that the CPU has, but because of that, it is more efficient. So it can't do as many things as the CPU, but because it has less components, it's also more efficient at the things that it can do. And therefore, the speed here is up to 1 gigahash per second, which is 1 billion hashes per second. And then in 2014, something incredible happened. The first ASIC device was shipped to a consumer in January 2014, and that changed the world of Bitcoin mining forever. ASIC stands for Application Specific Integrated Circuit. And these devices are totally and utterly specialized for one thing and one thing only, and that is to calculate the SHA-256 hash. And so the way it works, we'll have a look at an example just now, but the way it works is that the integrated circuit of this device is designed in such a way that the device doesn't have to perform any operations like put this bit here, add these two bits, divide this by this, and so on, like the CPU or the GPU. The ASIC device just relies exclusively on its circuit to perform that calculation. So as electricity runs through the device, just because of the architecture of the device, the calculation is performed like on a physical level rather than on a logical level. And therefore, ASICs can achieve incredible speeds, over 1,000 gigahashes per second, so over 1 trillion hashes per second. So there we go. That's the three main types, the differences. As you can see, they get more specialized as we go down this ladder. And while we're on the slide, I just wanted to mention one more thing. There's this type of mining called cloud mining, and that is when miners rent equipment off premises somewhere far away, and they pay a fee in order for that equipment to participate in mining on their behalf, and therefore, so they're just paying a fee in order to use someone else's basically equipment that is like a big server room or something like that. So like kind of like cloud computing or cloud storage. That's also a type of mining that miners can engage in. So there we go. Those are our types of different mining: CPU, GPU, ASIC, and cloud mining. And here we have an example of an ASIC integrated circuit. Just wanted to show you what it means. Like, I'm not an expert in electrical engineering whatsoever, but this circuit in itself is designed in a way to calculate the SHA-256 hash. So basically, as electricity is running, I'm not sure if it's going this way or that way, but as electricity is running through the circuit, the calculations are being performed just by the structure, by the way the electricity goes through the circuit, rather than as in a CPU or a GPU, they have to be like logical operations with bits and bytes and things like that. Here it just goes like input, electricity runs through it, output, done. At the same time, it's important to note that, so first of all, what you can see is that ASICs completely blow ASICs blow GPUs out of the water. GPUs blow CPUs out of the water. ASICs blow GPUs out of the water. So there's no point in using a GPU if somebody is using an ASIC. But at the same time, it's important to note that ASICs can only be used for certain cryptocurrencies, such as Bitcoin. You can use ASICs for Bitcoin because Bitcoin uses the SHA-256 hash, and most ASICs are specifically designed for that. Whereas, for example, Ethereum uses the ETH hash. We haven't spoken about this, but Ethereum uses a different type of hash called the ETH hash, their own version of hash, which is a memory heavy, which is memory dependent, another term for it, meaning that it requires access to the memory in order to pull pseudo-random numbers from there to calculate the hash. So the speed of the ASIC won't be beneficial because you have to access the memory anyway, so your speed of calculating hash will be limited by your access to memory speed. And therefore, you might hear the saying that Ethereum is designed to withstand ASICs so that people cannot bring ASICs and start mining Ethereum with it. And therefore, ASICs can be used on Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies that use SHA-256 hash, or you could design ASICs for other types of hash. Like you could create a different type of ASICs for a different type of hash and use them there, but you cannot create an ASIC, or so far nobody's been successful in creating an ASIC type solution for Ethereum because it's memory heavy. So in Ethereum, you can still use GPUs because there are no ASICs to outperform the GPUs. So that's something important to note. And and so now let's move on to some examples. So here, let's first go to the search. So I did a search here for GPU mining rig, and you'll see just some examples. So here you got a 6 GPU, you got 6 graphics processing units, 6 graphics cards basically, 7,000. Then here you got, not sure what that is. So, like the price always depends, of course, on the hash rate and things like that. And so this one, where is the one? This one. So Shark, I had a look here. Shark is the operating system. Zcash, Ethereum, Bitcoin mining, and so on. Like you can see the hash rates here. So question, like knowing what we know now from the tutorial, trivia, why do they have Bitcoin here? Why would they say Bitcoin if it's a GPU mining rig? We know that GPUs are completely outdated for Bitcoin. There's ASIC devices. There's no point. So if you just search for Bitcoin on this page, let's do that. Control F, Bitcoin, you will see that there is nowhere to be seen. Only in like, where is that? Can be exchanged to Bitcoin. You see, that's their claim. But if you look at the compatible currencies, Bitcoin isn't actually here. So it's just a marketing thing. It's false advertising that they're saying Bitcoin here. It's just trying to get people who don't understand these things, that you cannot mine Bitcoin with GPUs anymore because there's ASIC devices just to click here. Or maybe people are searching Google or eBay for Bitcoin mining. So, it's a way for them to get their product on the front page or on people's eyes. But in reality, this is good for only certain things. Ethereum, Zcoin, Z Classic, and so on. So Ethereum here, so you can see Zcash, assuming that is linked to that, Ethereum is linked to that. That's about right. 200 mega hashes per second for 6 GPUs, that's about right. The best GPU for Ethereum mining, if we have a look here, they're about 30. So this is just an article on Cryptos R Us. So the fastest ones here, you can see 31, 32, 25. So there we go. So 6 times 30 is about 180 mega hashes per second. This fastest one ever is like 41 mega hashes. Again, another important thing to note is you cannot compare, what this shows is you cannot compare the hash rate between two different cryptocurrencies, because in Ethereum, it's one type of hash. In Zcash, it's another type of hash. So one might be easier to solve, one might be harder to solve. So therefore, the hash rates will be different. So only compare hash rates if you're talking about the same cryptocurrency. So if you're talking about Ethereum, then you can compare two different devices on how much hash rate. If you're talking about two different cryptocurrencies, it's not a good idea because it's going to be misleading results. And what I like about that example is also that, as you can see, by diving into the world of these of hardware of these devices, we're learning more about cryptocurrencies themselves. We're learning that Ethereum is different to Bitcoin in the sense that it uses a different type of hash. It uses ETH hash versus Bitcoin, which uses SHA-256. We're also learning that you cannot compare different hash rates from different systems. So for instance, if I show you here the hash rate of Ethereum, you will see right away that you can see that that's how many hashes, hash rate giga hashes per second, 250,000 giga hashes per second, versus the Bitcoin 22 million trillion hashes per second. But now we know we can't actually compare the two side by side. So it doesn't really say much to us in that sense. Like these guys are hashing solving one type of hash. The ones in Bitcoin are solving a different type of hash. So what you could look at is the growth and the percentage growth in the hash rate, that, and compare that side by side, because that's it's like, it's just a percentage. How much did the hash rate grow in the past month or in the past year? And that will tell us how fast the network is growing, how many more players are joining, or how quickly the computing power, hash rate, or the computing power is growing, how popular a network is. But comparing just the hash rate to the hash rate, that's a no-no. Okay, so those are our GPUs, and let's move on to ASICs. So what does an ASIC look like? Look at that. When I saw this for the first time, I was so shocked. Like this little USB stick, 333 mega hashes per second. Again, you can't really compare. We can't compare to what we had there. But like, if you don't know that, then like you compare to this with 6 GPUs. But nevertheless, even if you take like an old type of GPU that was used to solve the hash puzzle on on Bitcoin, this is insane. 333 mega hashes. Remember we said that the GPUs would only go up to was it 1 giga hash per se, 1 giga hash? This is like already 333 mega hash with a tiny USB stick on Bitcoin. So that's crazy, and that's what ASIC devices did to the world of blockchain, or blockchain that use SHA-256. And then you can see the bigger ones. So those are just like toy type of things. They're real, but they're good for playing around, getting to know things. They're quite small. This one, look, a small USB, 1.6 giga hash per second. But and actually here you can see the integrated circuit, right? So you can see that there it is. That's the culprit. That's where the electricity goes in and out. Bam, done, and everything is solved. A couple of what is it called? 300 million times per second. Insane. But so these are the bigger ASICs. These are the ones that you see like in the industrial level type of mines, racked up together on racks. And so important to note, those are not, if it's a Bitcoin mine, those are not GPUs. Those are ASICs. And so yeah, so there's if you can see 1,000 giga hash. So this one goes up to this is mega hash, this is 1 giga hash, this is 1,000 giga hash, 1,000 times faster than that. And they need a lot of cooling, they make a lot of noise, make a lot of heat. And so those are ASICs here. You can see them here. And best ASIC devices. So here we've got another article from TechRadar. So there you can see what can you, Antminer S9. What can you get? 13.5 thousand gigahashes. So 13.5, is that trillion? Yeah, trillion. So terahashes, trillion hashes per second. Yep, you can then, power usage is also pretty insane, so you need to calculate that and so on. So there we go. That's what they look like. So hopefully seeing what they look like will help better also understand, just memorize what they are. And finally, for today's additional reading, I've got an interesting article. I found this interesting. It's on vijaypradeep.com. And again, we'll link this in the course notes. And this one is about Ethereum's memory hardness explained and the road to mining with custom hardware. It's quite a hardware or technical article, a little bit. It's not long, but it explains quite well why Ethereum is called a memory hard or memory bound type of hash, that it actually has to access. It has to access memory this DAG file in order to pull out the pages in order to calculate its hash, and that's where the bandwidth is limited. So if you want to learn more about that, about the Ethereum hash rate, which is ETH hash, then check out this article. And yeah, on that note, hope you enjoyed today's tutorial and the dive into the world of hardware, of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency mining. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, enjoy blockchains.